How unconscious patterns make life harder than it needs to be. There is a moment, a quiet, unsettling, and remarkably lonely moment that arrives for almost everyone. Maybe you're standing in your kitchen at 11 p.m., staring at a pile of dishes you don't have the energy to wash. Or maybe you're sitting in your car in the driveway, the engine turned off, just staring at the garage door because you realize you don't actually want to go inside yet. In those moments, you look at a corner of your life. Maybe it's your bank account, the tension in your relationship, or just that heavy, buzzy feeling of not feeling enough that follows you around like a shadow. And one question begins to glow like a neon sign in the darkness of your mind. Why does this keep happening? Why do I keep ending up in the same argument? Why am I always just short on cash? Why does my peace of mind have the shelf life of an open avocado? But what if all the chaos, the mess, and that exhausting feeling of one step forward and two steps back wasn't a problem with who you are? What if it's a problem with the fundamental rules you were taught about how life actually works? In this first video of our 30-video journey of self-improvement, we're going to start by looking at the invisible architecture of your life, the assumptions, rules, and patterns you've been operating from without even realizing it. Most of what's making your life harder than it needs to be isn't happening because you're failing or broken. It's happening because you were taught how life works using a framework that doesn't match the world you're actually living in. And that's the first truth we need to get clear on. Truth number one, you were given a map for a different planet. You grew up in a world of absolute deafening noise. From the time you were small, you were surrounded by people constantly telling you what to do, what to buy, and who to be. But here is the catch. They never once explained what would actually happen after you did it. You weren't handed a clear, helpful guidebook for being a human. You were handed a giant bag of social expectations and told to figure it out. It was like being tossed into the cockpit of a Boeing 747, given a map drawn in crayon and told, hey, just follow your heart and try not to crash. So naturally, you did what everyone else does. You guessed, you reacted, you followed the crowd. You took dating advice from your friend who hasn't had a stable relationship since the 90s. You took financial tips from people who think a credit limit is free money. We've all done it. We've bought the metaphorical firecrackers because they looked shiny, and then acted shocked when our life looked like a post-fireworks war zone. The world trains us to prioritize our impulses, but it never mentions the invoice that follows. We were taught to chase the sparkle and worry about the bill later. But maturity is the realization that you don't have to hit rock bottom to learn how to walk. You don't have to drown just to learn how to swim. You can learn the cost of a choice before you ever pay it. You were handed chaos, but you don't have to keep living in it. Truth number two, life is a mechanism, not a mood. One of the biggest lies we are told, and it's a lie that keeps us very small, is that life is random or that some people are just lucky. We treat life like it's a temperamental, moody God that we have to please with good vibes or the right manifestation. But life isn't a mood. Life is a mechanism. It's pure, cold, beautiful cause and effect. It's physics. If you push a glass off a table, it doesn't break because the universe is testing you or because you have bad karma. It breaks because of gravity. Gravity doesn't care if you're a good person. It only cares about the physics of the fall. Your life functions the exact same way. An impulsive word leads to a fractured relationship. A lack of discipline leads to a lack of options. Awareness leads to peace. The problem isn't that you're making choices. It's that you were never trained to see the consequences hiding behind them. Think of it like a garden. If you plant thistles and then pray for roses, you're going to be disappointed every single time. You can journal about roses, you can manifest roses, and you can buy 1,000 rose-scented candles, but you're still going to get thistle. Why? Because the ground doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care about your vision board. It only cares about the seeds you actually put in the soil. When you stop seeing life as a series of accidents and start seeing it as a predictable return on your actions, you stop being a victim. You realize that you aren't being punished by life, you're being informed by it. The result you see in your life right now is just the return on the seeds you planted last month. Truth number 3, your patterns are the invisible architect. Most people think their life consists of the big cinematic moments, the wedding, the graduation, the promotion, the big move. But those aren't your life. Those are just the landmarks on the map. Your actual life, the one you feel in your bones every day, is built out of the tiny, microscopic choices you make when you aren't even paying attention. These are your patterns. I'm talking about the way you react when someone cuts you off in traffic, the way you reach for your phone the second you feel a hint of boredom, the way you say yes to things you actually hate because you're afraid of 3 seconds of social awkwardness. These micro decisions build your macro life. For example, hitting the snooze isn't just about 10 more minutes of sleep. It's a pattern of starting your day in a state of behindness and panic. You are literally practicing being late and stressed. Choosing to be right in a petty argument isn't a victory. It's a pattern of prioritizing your ego over your connection. We follow these patterns because they're familiar, not because they're good. We follow invisible scripts handed to us by our parents and our environment without ever asking, does this script actually lead to a place I want to go? And here's a slightly uncomfortable truth. You are currently living the accumulation of your choices, not your potential, not your best intentions, and certainly not your excuses, just your choices. If you want a different life, you don't need a new you. You need a new set of variables. You need to change the tiny, quiet things you do when no one is watching. Truth number 4, the shame spiral and self-trust. When we see the mess we've made, our first instinct is often to retreat into shame. Because we've been taught that self-improvement is about feeling better, we interpret the mental pain of our consequences as a personal attack. We think, I feel bad, therefore I am bad. We take the results of our choices and we weave them into our identity. But bad choices don't just create bad moments. They create bad versions of you. 1 bad choice makes you feel guilty. 2 makes you feel ashamed. 3 makes you feel hopeless. And by the 10th bad choice, you start to believe that you are the problem. This leads to the most dangerous part of the pattern, the erosion of self-trust. When you stop trusting yourself, you stop choosing intentionally. You go numb. You let life happen to you because you've convinced yourself you aren't qualified to drive the bus. You follow whoever is closest, you grab at anything that distracts you, and you stop imagining a future at all. You think, what's the point? And eventually, you forget you ever had power in the first place. But I want you to look at the pain differently. Pain isn't an indictment of your soul. It's just the check engine light on the dashboard of your life. Don't get mad at the light. Don't cover it up with tape so you don't have to see it. Just pull over, open the hood, and check the engine. The pain is there to tell you that the current choice isn't working. It's information, not a life sentence. Truth number 5, regret is a receipt, not a character flaw. This is the shift that changes everything. Regret is just a receipt. When you buy something expensive that you can't afford, the bank sends you a statement. That statement isn't mean. It isn't judging you. It isn't trying to ruin your day. It's just telling you the math. It's a record of a transaction. Mental pain and regret are the universe's way of saying, hey, the choice you just made has a really high cost. Are you sure you want to keep buying this? Think about it like this. If you walk into a room and the decor is terrible, the faucet is leaking, the lights are flickering, and there's a guy named Anxiety chewing ice in the corner, you don't have to stay there and cry about why the room is so ugly. You don't have to apologize for the room's existence. You just have to realize that you walked through the door that led to that room. The decor is the consequence. The door was the choice. If you want to be in a different room, you have to stop walking through that specific door. Once you see regret as a receipt, you stop being emotional about it and you start being logical. You stop asking, why am I like this? And you start asking, what does this choice return to me? Truth number 6, maturity is the power of the pause. If everything we've talked about is true, if life is cause and effect, and your patterns are the cause, then the only way to change the effect is to interrupt the cause. And that comes down to one thing, the power of the pause. Between the trigger and the reaction, there is a tiny microscopic window of time. In that window, you have the power to choose a different reaction. The old pattern looks like this. Someone says something rude, you snap back. The situation escalates, chaos ensues. You feel regret. It's a hot, fast sequence. The intentional choice looks like this. Someone says something rude, you pause. You ask yourself, what does this choice return to me? You stay silent, and you keep your peace. Silence is one of the most powerful tools in an intentional life. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding the chaos. You start living independently of other people's moods and the world's noise. Real maturity is accountability. It is the realization that you are the common denominator in all your problems. Now, I know that that sounds pretty heavy, but believe it or not, it is the best news you will ever hear. Because if you are the common denominator, if you are the one making the choices, then you are also the solution. You don't have to wait for your boss to change, or your spouse to change, or the economy to change. You just have to change the input. Your life didn't just happen to you. You didn't just trip and fall into your circumstances like a sitcom character. You built this life one small, impulsive, or unexamined choice at a time. And because you built it, you can rebuild it. You don't need a massive Hollywood-style Phoenix Rising moment every single day. You just need the courage to look at your life and say, this result isn't working, so I'm going to change the action. This isn't about being perfect. Perfection is a shiny distraction. This is about being aware. It's about recognizing the red flags in your own behavior before they turn into house fires. Every choice is a direction, and every direction leads somewhere. You are starting to pay attention now. You are starting to pause. You are starting to consider your future self, the version of you who has to live with whatever you are about to do. You are starting to learn the pleasure of walking away clean, whispering to yourself, good job, dodge that bullet. Your life isn't happening to you. It's happening because of you. And that's not a burden. That's your leverage. When you understand that, change stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling workable, because you're no longer waiting for life to cooperate before you move. To help you start seeing those patterns more clearly, I've put together a companion PDF linked below. It's not motivational and it's not theoretical. It's a practical tool to help you identify the unconscious patterns running in the background of your life so you can interrupt them before they cost you more peace. Take what resonates, leave the rest. I'll see you in the next one.